Hi, this is Alessio. Hope you're well. In this video, we're going to talk about a very popular and I would say quite a famous bearish signal, which is called a death cross. And we're going to talk about the truth and the meaning of this particular bearish signal and why it is not used correctly. Let's talk about this. Join me. All right, guys, welcome back. Just to let you know where I am, I'm in the town of Newquay in Cornwall in southwest of England. So in this video, I want to talk to you about a very misunderstood signal on the charts, which is called the death cross. You've probably heard of it. And I think it's probably one of the most confusing and misunderstood signals out there. And the truth is, every time this signal occurs on the charts, I always get comments and emails. I always get questions from people out there saying, hey, Alessio, can you comment on this death cross signal? What does it mean? Is the price going to crash? Are we now in a bear market or something like that? So let's talk about this. First of all, what is the death cross signal? And why is it confusing? Why is it misunderstood? I'm going to explain to you the correct way to apply it. So the death cross signal simply means when the 50 simple moving average crosses below the 200 simple moving average. Here's an example for you on this chart. Notice the grayish white line there. The 50 simple moving average here crosses below the 200 moving average, the green line you see on my chart. That essentially is what's called a death cross, usually interpreted by some chartists as a particularly bearish signal, or as a negative signal. Some people like to interpret this signal as a particularly bearish signal that could result in a drop in the price or a crash in the price. So what I would like to do in this video is set the record straight, because a lot of people seem to not quite understand the significance of this signal and misunderstand it, and they apply it in the wrong way. You see, guys, there are two types of death cross signals, and we need to understand the distinction between them. The first type is when both moving averages, the 50 and the 200, are moving in the same direction. So for example, when both the 50 simple moving average and when the 200 simple moving average are both moving in the downward direction, like you can see here, that is one type of death cross signal. But there's another type. The other type is the most common one you see, is when they move in opposite directions. So in this example, the 50 simple moving average here, the grayish white line, is moving down, whereas the 200 simple moving average, the green line there, is moving up. So in this example, they're moving in opposite directions. It turns out that when both these moving averages are moving in opposite directions, so for example, when the 50 is moving down, when the 200 is moving up, when they're moving in opposite directions to one another, this kind of death cross signal has a lower significance and actually very little meaning. In fact, according to an article by Barron's magazine, they found that when the moving averages, when these two moving averages are moving in opposite directions, it has very little or no meaning or significance. In other words, it's not bearish and it's not bullish. So we cannot attach too much significance to it or too much meaning to it when these moving averages are moving in opposite directions. Here's an example for you. This is back in 2015. I think in the early start of 2015 on Bitcoin, for example, we had a death cross signal. Here's a death cross signal when the moving averages are moving in opposite directions. Notice the 50 was moving down, but notice what happened afterwards. Price rallied quite hard after that. Here's another example for you in 2014. Again, you can see this kind of signal happening here. The moving averages are moving opposite directions. So the 50 was moving down, whereas the 200 is moving up. Again, remember, this kind of signal has very little or no significance. So the probability of this signal being meaningful actually is quite low. Again, this kind of signal is neither bearish nor bullish. And here's another example for you from the year 2018, when again, both these moving averages were moving in opposite directions. Again, price didn't react quite bearishly. Here's another example for you in 2021 on Bitcoin. You can see after the moving average crossed over, notice that the moving averages were moving in opposite directions. So the 50 was moving down, 200 was moving up. The price did drop a little bit, but it was quite mediocre. And in fact, as you can see, the price soon afterwards bounced and went up from there. So a much better application of death cross signal actually is to find examples when they're moving in the same direction. For example, when the 50 simple moving average is moving down and when the 200 moving average is also moving down. Here's an example for you from 2014 when these moving averages were moving in the same direction on Bitcoin, and notice when they crossed over, soon afterwards price dropped quite significantly. Here's an example when I think they were both moving in the same direction and then the price soon afterwards dropped down. And here's another example for you when they're moving in the same direction, in this case in the downward direction. So guys, in a nutshell, keeping it simple, all you have to remember is the next time you hear something about a death cross signal or you see a death cross signal on the charts, always ask yourself this question. Are the 50 and the 200 simple moving averages, are they moving in the same direction, in a downward direction, or are they going in opposite directions? Because if they're moving in opposite directions, the signal is not that much meaningful. It has very little or no significance. Again, the statistics show that kind of signal, when they're moving in opposite directions, it is not bullish nor bearish. So you want to find examples of this when they're going in the same direction, not in the opposite direction. All right, guys, thanks very much indeed. I look forward to seeing you in the next video update. Cheers, bye now.